So this is Dan of Vagabond Awake, and we have the good fortune today to have Geo on as a guest star, and he has a great story to tell. And he's in the Philippines, and he's living on very little money, and we're going to talk about that first after a couple questions, and then we'll get into why his story is interesting and what he's up to. Welcome to the channel, Geo.
Hi, Dan. Thanks a lot. Just to be a little clear, I don't live as cheaply right now. I was living very cheaply when I arrived here.
Okay.
I put on my YouTube comments because I didn't want anybody to jump down my throat about it, but I actually was living on 200 US dollars per month when I first arrived here because I was living on savings and trying to extend that savings as far as possible.
Wow.
So I think I put on YouTube 250, but I was actually down to 200 per month.
Wow.
Essentially making about 2,000. I think I had 2,400, something like that, when I arrived here. And so I was trying to extend that as long as I could until I could find some work online.
Okay.
But yeah, how I did it was, I realized that the Filipinos live here very inexpensively, and so I tried to mold my lifestyle after theirs, which I think was a very smart idea. And even today, when I do spend more money, I don't spend it unwisely. And I think now I'm probably up more close to about 500 per month. So I'm actually doing quite well, living very nicely here in the Philippines. Still considering what I have and how I'm living, my lifestyle, I'm living very inexpensively.
Wow. So where are you in the Philippines and right now?
I'm in southern Leyte.
So how long have you been in the Philippines, Geo?
I arrived here February of 2018.
Okay.
So it's a little bit over 3 years.
And
I actually was here prior to that, but only on kind of long vacations. But I didn't actually move here until February of 2018.
and in a general sense, what do you like most about living there?
The people. I've lived in a lot of places. So to attract me to a place, of course, it's a beautiful place. I mean, that's second to the people. And the weather would probably be third. But yeah, first and foremost, I think that makes a place is its people. And of course, you have to be a people person too to enjoy that. And I am very much a people person. And I've lived in places where it's been very difficult to make friends, like New York City. But here, I walk out my door. If I want to make a friend, they're right there. The Filipino people are outside. They're not inside. I went to Spain, been about 2 years ago now. And when I went to Spain, nobody was outside. And that was a culture shock to me, having lived here for a year. And so I actually turned around and left Spain 45 days later and returned to the Philippines.
I see. And what, in a general sense, what would you say you like least about the Philippines? And then I want to get into a little bit of what your costs are.
Wow, like least. I'm lost for words, to be honest with you. I find this to just a wonderful place, and there's never a day goes by that I focus on anything negative. I do see other people, like expats living here, and I do find that they're focused on negativity, but you know where that negativity is coming from? It's coming from their home country. And they'll be chatting about their home country, and I'm like, why are you doing that? You're not there. So I know a lot of negativity has been going on in the U.S. Since I've been here, and I don't really, I know about it. It's in my brain, but it's not my focus. My focus is on living here and enjoying life.
And so your home country then is the USA?
My home country, yes, is the United States.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about your cost of living. It's so remarkable. So how much do you pay in rent?
So my rent is one $100 per month. I am so far out from the city, and the city is small, so good. I'm about 30 minutes ride outside of the city. The prices dropped drastically, and there's no competition out here. People aren't trying to grab, expensive rentals. My neighbors, they either live in free housing or their rent is like under $20 per month. So house like this, they're just not interested in. They want a house like this, they would build it themselves and live there, for free.
Please like this video, comment, or subscribe. Thanks so much.
So you're at 100 a
And
month?
this is my,
You're at 100 a month then?
I'm at 100 per month.
Okay. And what is
Right.
what is your electricity bill?
The electric bill, we actually have been using a lot of electricity because we're cooking inside. Normally the Filipinos, they cook outside. They cook with wood. But we're right now at about $16 per month. I know, ridiculously low even still.
Yeah.
To us, it's a lot of money.
And then
I'm adjusted to the Filipino way, and normally electric bill here would be about $6 per month.
okay. How about water, gas, and internet?
Water is free. I have a pump in the backyard, and so I go out there, pump all my water. Gas you would buy in a bottle. I don't use that, so I can't really give you the price on that.
Okay.
And what was your other? The internet?
Internet, yeah.
Really interesting. So Globe is our internet here in the Philippines, and it tends not to be great all the time. So I'm glad we're having this conversation without any major issues right now. But it's only about, I think, $25 per month. Now, Elon Musk is starting a new internet called Starlink, and that's with satellites, and that's $99 a month, and that will be available in 2022, according to him.
Okay.
So I'm already signed up for that. I signed up actually yesterday, and so as soon as that's available, I'll be going on Starlink, and that's super fast speed, like unbelievable.
Okay.
So I'm really excited about that.
Cool. And what do you spend roughly in local transportation to get around the grocery store and buy stuff, that kind of thing? And what is it? Do you have a motorcycle, or do you just ride the tuk-tuks? What's your transportation methodology and cost?
So to get from here to So Good on the bus, it's only 28 pesos, which is 56 cents
Okay.
US. And so that's each way. So roughly about $1.12 round trip,
Okay.
which is quite far. To take a van from here all the way to Tacloban, which is a 3-hour trip, that is 150 pesos each way, so $3 US each way. That's how you would get to the airport from here, as well as to the Bureau of Immigration to do visa extensions.
Okay.
I do not have a car, have not owned a car in over a decade. I just discovered in the US that was an expense I didn't really need. I have typically lived in places where transportation is public and there's no need for private transportation.
So if you were to guess how much per month based on the number of trips you make on average a week or whatever, what would you say is a good budget for your lifestyle for local transportation per month?
Okay, don't laugh. $6?
I laughed, I'm sorry.
Because I only go to the city once a week. And that's because I have my life set up here so wonderfully.
Okay, and then what would you say your groceries are per month?
Our groceries run 4,000 per month.
Is that
So,
4,000 pesos?
4,000.
So $200?
4,000 pesos. That's, I think, $80 per month.
Okay. And do you go do you go out to restaurants, and about how much, and what's that per month average?
So a restaurant with me and my assistant, we did that for the new movie that we produced, and our bill came to was 325 pesos for both of us to eat at the restaurant. So that's $6.50 US. So essentially $3.25 for each person. That's a typical meal here in the Philippines.
Okay.
And we don't eat out often. Once a week. Again, when we go to the city.
So you're talking once a week would be, maybe 40, 50 a month or something?
Right. So no more 30 no more than $30 per month.
And do you have health insurance, or do you pay as you go with health care?
My health care is in the United States. I'm not really fond personally of having surgery or any type of medical care in a foreign country like the Philippines. I feel much safer that if I have a medical issue to go back home and have things taken care of there.
Right.
I'm not much doctors to begin with. I'm basically a naturalist, and I do things naturally, healing.
Okay.
Otherwise.
And so have you done any trips back to the U.S. for medical care since you've been there? Or?
I've not needed.
Okay.
I've not needed it, so no, I have not. Yeah.
You mentioned water and that you have a pump. Does that mean you have a well there on the property?
Yeah, the wells here are very interesting. I'm not sure that they're deep wells. They may just be shallow wells. So they go down to where they hit water, and then they call it good.
Uh-huh.
I think in the U.S. we're used to having deep wells where the water's really nice and clean.
Uh-huh.
But you have to go down pretty far, like 100 to 200 feet to get that water.
Okay.
I don't think they do that here, because after it rains, my water comes out a little dirty, like muddy, like the river gets muddy. So my water does the same thing. But otherwise, it's nice water, and we don't drink it. We buy drinking water. Drinking water here is 20 pesos per 5 gallons. So that's 40 cents per 5 gallon. And so that's $1 to have fresh drinking water.
What are your expenses that you're averaging? And this is the part that I think is so remarkable about your story. What are you averaging, would you say, per month for all in?
I would say now I'm everything is about 500 per month now.
You mentioned that you're making films. Are you retired now, or are you still working, or?
That's funny. I came here to retire, and then when we started blogging, I realized between me and my assistant that we were more suited for filmmaking.
Uh-huh.
So we documented our journey going from blogging to filmmaking in our new movie, Snapshots of So Good.
And that movie will be out at the time this people are listening to this. Is that right?
By the time people are listening to this broadcast,
yeah, our conversation right
you will see Snapshots of So Good on my YouTube channel.
Good, and we'll put a link to that below. Uh-huh.
And we're going to be doing documentary filmmaking.
Okay.
And between Hollywood and YouTube, we're going to be marketing these movies that we're creating. Now, this first one was created completely with a Android phone. No cameras, no microphones, nothing. So it's very fascinating to do that. We learned as we went. So in the beginning, you might see where we struggled with the sound, but we got it. By the end of the movie, we know what we're doing.
You're talking about documentary films. Is that your background in film? It
is. I was working under Jason Da Silva in New York City, and I didn't really think that I was going to do that here. I came here more with the attitude of retiring, and it's just, retire. I guess some people are just not meant to retire. So, I mean, my grandfather was going strong until he was like probably late 80s, and I'm only 58, so I may have another 30 years of work in me.
Yeah.
And so I think this is a really good avenue for me to do. And I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes the older people tend to be really respected on these types of things. I know growing up, I watched Captain Kangaroo. He was an old fart, and then we have Mr. Rogers. He was old. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not going to feel badly about this at all. I'm just going to, celebrate my age and go forward. And however old I get, making these films, that's the way it's going to be.
Okay, so how would you characterize the films you're going to be making going forward?
Oh, that's really interesting because me and my assistant have been talking about that. The most important thing for me is when you watch one of my films, I want it to be educational. So educational is a top priority. Now, when I worked with Jason was almost a reality star with his movies. And I like that aspect too, but I don't want the movie to be all about me. At the same time, I don't want it to not be anything about me. I don't want to just be the narrator of a bunch of educational information. So I want to put story in there, such as how did I feel about this when I started out? Where was I in the middle of all of this? And where did I come out at the end? And that's typically going to be our style of documentary.
Okay. So what was it that made you decide that you wanted to start making films again?
That would probably be mostly because my assistant G.V. was filming me doing the blogging, and I'm like, you're doing shots that belong in a movie, not... and you see that in the beginning of the film. If you watch the movie trailer, that's actually the first scene in the movie. And you can see this is not blogging. This is filmmaking. And so I'm like, I think I'm going to teach you all about filmmaking, just like Jason taught me in New York. So it's kind of interesting how things evolved. And I'm actually loving it. We're having a ball. And I'm back to, like when you're so excited about something, you just can't put it down. So I've taught GV this term, burning the candle at both ends. So that's what I'm doing currently, burning the candle at both ends. Working from the time I get up in the morning to the time I go to bed at night. And sometimes in the middle of the night, just to get up and see what's uploading on my computer.
How are you finding these places? I'm curious. Are you reading like in local newspapers, or are you walking around? Or?
No, you have to go on foot. And so in the countryside, you want to go on foot. There's no such thing as advertising these types of places. And you need to meet people. I mean, one of the most important things when you come to the Philippines is get to know the people. They're going to be shy. You may think they're unfriendly. You may take it the wrong way, but they're just super, super shy. And rarely are they unfriendly.
So about daily life, do you have a partner or love interest now? And if so, how did you meet them?
So I don't have a love interest. I do have a lot of people interested in me. However, if somebody, quality comes along, I'm definitely open to that. But right now, I'm just on my own and enjoying life as a single person.
Okay. And what are some of the things you do for fun there other than work on your residence and your filmmaking?
For fun, that's really funny because this was always a question that Jason got in New York, and we do filmmaking for fun. It's really a hobby. And so when someone says they're working, they're probably doing something that they're not enjoying, but when it comes to filmmaking, that's really a hobby. It's like going out and riding a motorcycle or going and playing golf, whatever. So no, I've always been creative. I've been an artist, a writer, a filmmaker, and these things I do for enjoyment and just happen to make money at them.
Wow, that's a great answer. So do you feel safe living there, Gio?
That's a really good question. I think that anybody who moves to the Philippines should really check an area out and make sure that they do feel safe, right? I actually feel extremely safe here. Nobody here that I know of locks their doors except me. Old habits die hard, and I have a lot of stuff in my house, like computer equipment, that I don't want to go missing. But no, this is a very trustworthy community that I live in. Now, when we're talking about community in the Philippines, we're actually talking about families. It's a very tribal place, the Philippines. So when you move to a neighborhood, you're basically moving in with a family. When I say people here live together from childhood all the way to the time they die, I don't mean in the same house, but they may be in the very next house. And so it's extremely interesting to me, and I feel embraced by the community that I am a part of. I feel like they have adopted me as part of their family. Now, I live on the edge of two communities. So I live right in between 𝗕𝗢𝗄𝐻 and 𝗖𝗔𝐻 here in the Philippines. And so being on the border, I have the pleasure of having essentially two families, the 𝗕𝗢𝗄𝐻 family and the 𝗖𝗔𝐻 family.
Wow, that's great. So what type of visa do you have, and what's your cost and renewal period for the visa that you have?
So I have the tourist visa. Now, you could do the retirement visa and all these other things, but you actually have to pay for those. And I think it's quite expensive, like we're talking thousands of dollars. So I don't find that to be a very practical way to go about it. If you do just the tourist visa at this time, it is only in visa fees about $300 per year. And so that's the way I do it. And they have a 6-month visa extension. So I only go twice a year to get my visa extension.
That's great.
Approximately $150.
That's the same thing we were doing when we were there. So thanks for that. So advice to others. What would you do? Would you do anything differently if you started over again today, in terms of moving to the Philippines and what you've learned?
Sure. I would have avoided getting into a relationship online with a Filipino. They tell you here, don't do that. They stay offline. I think the reasoning being is that a lot of people who are online getting into relationships with people from overseas, they're looking for something else, like a green card. And you're just best to avoid that. Wait till you get here and then date around.
Okay, that's great advice. Thank you for that. So any other tips for someone thinking of living this lifestyle?
I would say when you're choosing a place, unless you know somebody, try different places. Just go and expect to travel around. Don't just go for a day unless you really hate a place. Then, of course, just stay a day and move on. But stay and try to get to know the people and see if it's really going to be a good fit or not. And if it's not, then definitely move on. But I think pretty much anywhere, at least in my area, I know that everybody's friendly and you can really have a good time here. I tend not to want to live in the city here. I think that that's a little bit colder, not as warm and friendly as the countryside. But here in the countryside, pretty much everybody's friendly. And if they're not, they've got some issue. But that's very rare here. Before anybody ever said hi to me, and that's a really good point here, I said hi to them. And why I say that's a good point is because people are so shy here, they're not going to say hi to you first. But they will say hi back because they're very friendly. I would say on percentage, 95% of people will say hi back and they'll, be very friendly with you.
Wow, that's my same experience there, Gio. Thanks for sharing that. So, and finally, are you happy?
I'm happier probably than I've ever been in my life. I think this place really suits me very well. I have no plans of ever leaving. As far as aesthetic, as an artist, it's very important for me to live in a beautiful place. I'm surrounded by beautiful nature.
Great. So, Gio, thank you so much for sharing your experience in the Philippines with my subscribers. I look forward to watching your movie, and there'll be a link below this YouTube video to your movie so people can see some of your filmmaking and see at least one of the residences that you stayed in for so little money. Great story. We look forward to your movie.
Thank you, Dan.
Hey, thanks for watching our video. Please click the link in the notes below this YouTube video. It will say watch Gio's movie. Plus there's a bunch of other resources there for you. Make sure to get a free copy of my ebook, How I Fired My Boss and Traveled the World. for 14 years. Thanks for watching. Click the link in the notes below this YouTube video to get a copy of all the resources described in this video and a free copy of my ebook, How I Fired My Boss and Traveled the World. And while you're there, check out our 80 Retire Cheap reports and the course that teaches you how to make money as you travel the world. Hey, if you liked our video, please like, comment, or subscribe. Any of that would help our business. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.